up your engine! Today I'm going to show you a very common problem and how to fix it. You got a car, starts up okay when it's cold and runs, but after you drive it a while, say 40 minutes, whatever, go eat lunch, you come in, try to start it right up, and it's hard to start. Here's what you do. Generally, that is a fuel problem. When an engine is ice cold, it needs extra fuel to start up. Hence, if you got a real junk or worn out car, you can spray starting fluid in it to get it started first thing in the morning because it doesn't get enough fuel. But this is the opposite problem. The car starts fine when it's cold, but once it's warmed up, it's hard to start. Well, often that's because the engine is slightly flooding out when it's hot. Once an engine warms up, it needs less fuel to start and run itself. So if you have a fuel problem or some kind of restriction in the air system, the car will often run a little bit on the rich side, which it'll run okay, but then when you try to restart it when it's hot, the engine gets too much fuel and it's hard to start. Now, if you ever do have a car like that, here's a quick, not fix, but it'll get it going, is when the car won't start, instead of keeping your foot off the gas, floor it. When you floor the accelerator, that's called the anti-flood mode. If the engine has too much fuel and it's flooded out, most modern fuel injected cars, if while you're cranking it, you floor the accelerator, that helps on-flood the engine. The software is made up so that if you do that, it will allow the engine to start up. It'll rev up a little, then you quick take your foot off and flutter it a little until it equalizes itself. Doesn't fix the problem, but at least get your car started so you can drive around. To fix it, you got to figure out why, oh why, is it getting too much fuel in the engine, especially when it's hot? Well, you start with the simple stuff. Check the air filter, because if the air filter is clogged, you'll have lots of fuel, but not enough air. Check that first. In this case, the filter's okay. It's got some plant matter in it. It's clean. You look at the sun, you can see through it. Nothing wrong with the air filter. Sometimes it's a dirty or bad MAF sensor, mass airflow sensor. In this case, it's right here. Sometimes they get dirty, so you can just unscrew them, come out of the hole. Real easy on a Toyota. Take the two screws out, wiggle out of the hole, and you unplug it. You gotta squeeze them real tight. They're on there solid. There's little sensors inside, you wanna clean them. Only use mass sensor cleaner, mass airflow sensor cleaner. Doesn't leave any residue. Simple. You just spray it over all the contacts, and especially in the holes where the air flows through. You want to get any crud off of them. Very simple thing to do. But you did notice one thing. I removed the sensor from the car. I clean it. You don't want it to be plugged in. It can ruin the electronics of the car. And once it's off, let it air dry about half an hour, and it'll be completely safe to put back in. Then once it's done, put it back in its hole, screw the screws in. You want to make sure the seal's tight, get them both in, and don't forget to snap it back on till it clicks. And of course, put the air filter back in. Make sure it snaps in. There, you hear it snap. And since this is a Toyota, what you want to check, around here, there's often a lot of rubber hoses. Sometimes when you do the air filter, the hoses come disconnected. So make sure you don't get any of them disconnected. Otherwise, you'll get a check engine light for a vacuum leak running too lean. Make sure you don't do that. Now, a lot of times this will fix it. The mass sensor gave the wrong data, gave it too much fuel. It'll flood it out when it's warm. But if that doesn't fix it, then you bring out the big guns. Clean the fuel injection system. Now, sometimes cleaning it does not work, and you got to replace a fuel injector or a fuel pressure regulator that's leaking too much fuel into the engine. But on a car like a Toyota, often it's just dirty fuel injectors. When you clean them, then they spray normal and they don't run too rich. Now, there's a zillion cleaners you can pour in a gas tank. As long as you buy one that has PEA, petroethylamine, it's a nitrogen-based cleaner, it'll help clean them. Sometimes that works. You can give it a try. Maybe put a bottle or two in before you fill it up and see if after the tank full of gas, it starts starting normal when it's warmed up and doesn't flood out. It's certainly worth a try. But of course, the cleaner is diluted with your gasoline. As a professional mechanic, I use a pressure cleaning machine to clean them. It has a canister that I fill with cleaner. Then I have to hook it up to the fuel line of the car and hook this end up to compressed air so I can put the cleaner in at the same pressure as the fuel pump. So it will run on pure cleaner. That cleans it best. I got a whole video on that, how to clean fuel injectors without removal. You can watch the whole video. Just realize you're generally not going to do that at home because you need an air compressor to hook it up to. You have to understand what the pressure of your car is. And on this Toyota, it's a royal pain in the butt because the fuel lines are sealed. There's no fuel pressure Schrader valve, and you got to get adapters, take the fuel injection line off, put an adapter on it. It is a giant pain in the rear end. So on top of the compressor knowledge, you'd also need a special adapter tool to hook it up. So it's not something you want to do yourself. Most mechanics like myself charge $100 to do it. It's well worth it if it fixes your car. And the way it can work is this. A normal fuel injector is supposed to spray a perfectly conical shaped spray, like an upside down ice cream cone. As they get dirty, they'll start spraying sideways and not a perfect cone shape. The fuel doesn't atomize right. It doesn't work right. And a lot of times, the computer tries to compensate for this by spraying more fuel in. Then they run too rich and flood the engine out. When you try to start them hot, there's too much gas residual in the engine, and it won't start right. Now, truthfully, a lot of mechanics try to oversell these things. Oh, you need fuel injection cleaning, la la. If your car runs perfectly fine, starts good all the time, you're throwing your money away doing that. If you do have a problem where it starts hard when it's hot, try everything I tried, and it still didn't work, pay a mechanic $100 to pressure clean the fuel injector system. Just make sure he actually does it. Watch him do it. Have him show you his tools so you know it's not some baloney. Because I've seen guys baloney all the time, and all they do is pour some stuff in a gas tank or spray it in the engine and say, oh, we cleaned them. Now, it's all good cleaning the throttle with cleaner, but the fuel injectors are pressurized here. None of that cleaner is going to clean the fuel injectors. They have to be cleaned from inside the fuel injection system, so you want the cleaner to go as concentrated as much directly into the fuel injectors where it's going to do its cleaning job best. And as I said, if you got a good PEA-based cleaner, you can pour some in a gas tank, but just think, you pour this in a gas tank, you got 15 gallons of gas and this little bit of cleaner, it's diluted too much. So if you do want to try cleaner in a gas tank, my advice is wait until you only got maybe a quarter of a tank of fuel in it, then try the cleaner. It will be more concentrated. And also realize this, if you do run cleaner through a system, often the check engine light will come on because it's running differently with pure cleaner. It's not going to hurt anything, but you're going to have to get a scan tool and reset the codes, because after I do a serious cleaning, most cars will always trip some codes. Then I just get my scan tool and plug it in and say erase codes. Are you sure? Yes, yes. And it erases the code and away you go. That's normal. Don't freak out if you use some cleaner and the check engine light comes on right during or after you do the cleaning, because that confuses the computer. You just have to reset it and drive the car. Now in this case, this was a used car, customer just bought. We know nothing of the history of the car. So, a pressure cleaning, it fixed it. Starts right up now. Drove it around half an hour, let it sit, came in, started right up again. The injectors had some kind of crud in them. Previous owner probably didn't do all that much maintenance. Maybe bought really cheap gasoline, the cheapest he could find. You know, you want to use good gas. My personal experience is find the nearest station that's a regular brand and use it all the time. There's all kinds of rules for modern gasoline, at least here in the United States, so they're all relatively similar. Some stations might not take care of them. They might get water in the gas, or if it's a real cheap convenience store, who knows where they're buying their gas from. At least if you stick to a regular company, if there is a problem, you got some big guys to fall back on and say, hey, I filled my car up, look at this. And then if somebody takes a sample of your gas and finds out that it's 40% water, you got them that are going to have to pay for it. Try that at some convenience station. Good luck. I've had that happen to customers, and they had to have me fix it, and they never got any money back from the company. The convenience store corporations would just say they're independently operated. You're going to have to take care of the guy who owns the thing. Ha, good luck trying to get money out of a guy who runs a convenience store. I've had customers try that. And some of them hired lawyers, and occasionally they get some of their money back. Who wants to go through that hassle in the first place? Just use regular gas stations that are brand name, and you generally don't have to worry about anything. So now you know step by step what to do if your car starts fine when it's cold, but when it's hot, it's hard to start up. And of course, as I showed the on-flooding mode of flooring it, if you are stuck somewhere and you have no time to fix anything, just floor it, turn the key, and when it starts, then just butterfly the throttle to rev it up a little bit so it clears it out. It doesn't fix it, but at least it gets it running so you can go on your merry way and fix it later. And here's some bonus questions and answers. And Morganelli says, why am I getting horrible gas mileage? I got an automatic 09 Civic. My gas mileage has gotten worse. Changed the spark plugs, hasn't changed anything. 138,000 kilometers. Okay, that's what, like 70-something thousand miles. That's not that much miles. You change the spark plug. Now, here's what you want to do. You got to change the air filter. I had a customer who failed his emissions test in Texas years ago. And the only thing wrong was the air filter was clogged up. So check the air filter. Also change the fuel filter. What you also want to do is, if things have carboned up inside the intake, watch my video, make your car run better with a little spray cleaner. It'll cost you about 16 bucks for the cleaner. You can watch it. You'll clean the throttle, clean the mass airflow sensor. Normally that will fix all your problems on a Honda that has that tiny amount of mileage on it. It's not that many miles. And a lot of times it's just a clogged air filter, clogged fuel filter. You know, you want to check all that stuff out first. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.